Hello and welcome to Random Acts of Poetry. Not sure about the light today because the sun is blazing in through the window. It's kind of a blue sky day out there. It took a while to clear the clouds. I'm going back to the old phone, looking at the cracked piece of technology because accordingly the sound on the Huawei phone wasn't very loud, and we'll see where we go from there. It's been a while since I've posted, but I think this poem it takes some thinking about. It's a very sensitive subject. I wrote it after a friend of mine committed suicide. The reasons behind that event are far too personal to him and his family for me to even have an idea about what really drove that moment. It's such a difficult subject because the life is our personal adventure. Some people don't think that life is a journey, that there's no end point. Well, there is an end point because that is the day that you die on. I've spoke about the 3 lives that we have in previous video clips, and this poem touches on that to some degree because we talk about suffering, particularly in sort of Indian traditions. Life is suffering, and I wonder sometimes whether that's to keep us in our position, to keep us used to our lot in life, not want to achieve more. The caste system, pain, we're supposed to be experiencing pain and suffering, and that really doesn't sit well with me because life is what you make it, and life is as enjoyable or as pleasurable or as painful as you want it to be. There are people out there who have nothing, but yet they're the happiest people, usually in poor countries, whatever defines a poor country. Bhutan, one of the poorest countries in the world allegedly, yet has the most happiest people. They don't measure their GDP, they measure their happiness. So what is suffering? This idea of likes and dislikes. I like this, I don't like that. It keeps us narrow-minded, and it blocks certain things out in yoga or in kung fu, certain postures that become painful. And pain's not the right word, they become uncomfortable. And we push through them until sometimes we learn to love that posture. And perhaps that is what suffering is, perhaps that's what life is. It's this learning to deal with what life gives you and making the best of it. Anyway, this is going to be a difficult poem for some people. Some people may completely disagree with what I have said or what I'm about to say, and that's your choice. What I would like to say is that, I don't mean this to sound heartless or thoughtless to people who are feeling suicidal, or those who are depressed and struggling with the shit that life throws at you. And I understand it's shit. We all go through different shit, and never judge a man and his behaviour until you've walked a mile in his shoes. But you may move on and you may leave this mortal coil, but your suffering doesn't end. You just pass it on to others. And please remember that. And maybe that's how we end our suffering, is not by thinking of ourselves, but thinking about others. Here we go. I hope you like the poem. Suffering. My friend took his life, leaving behind a grieving wife and 2 bewildered little boys. We are given so many choices by the voices we allow to run riot within our head, and nobody knows how these words have been said. And in a discourse and dictation of the rules we follow to the source of our agitation, this simple dissatisfaction with the way we choose to live. One thought closes the gate, another opens the door which sets you free. How can you find true liberation without a prison to be freed from? The cell becomes without walls, as the mind is but the assertation of that in which you believe. Here and now is the truth. When this body ceases being, its pain does not end. It is passed on to those who loved you and will carry your name upon the tongue till the bitter end. Thank you.